Like other national public radio stations, African American Public Radio attracts socially conscious, achievement-focused, and culturally aware listeners who are lifelong learners. Many individuals and businesses contribute financially to these stations as very necessary supporters. And to tell us more about our own community broadcasting station, none other than former state representative and my friend, Deborah Berry, who has recently been appointed as president of KBBG 88.1 FM radio. So how are you?
Hey, Mr. Mayor. I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, we know that you need no introductions. You served years on the Waterloo City Council and then 14 years in the Iowa House. But please tell us about your background in media and how did you end up being president of KBBG?
Well, first, Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to be on today. It's so exciting to come on my friend, the Mayor's program, so I'm happy about that. As you know, it's really interesting how your life goes. I had no idea, first of all, that would have been a politician. But it's funny how the world prepares you for things. I always started out in my early years in my adult career in customer service. I was in retail management, then from retail management, managing a French boutique in Chicago, and from there moved back home to Waterloo, and then started getting into politics a little bit. But that was after the fact, after I ran for, or rather, after I volunteered for about a year at KBBG Radio. And I felt like KBBG Radio would be my link to the outside world, coming from busy Chicago. And I volunteered and really loved it. I just had a natural ability to talk a lot, as you know, and I had a natural ability to connect with people. And I found that to be just wonderful because I love to talk to people. And then I ran for city council, as you know, for about 2 years, and then ran for the Iowa House of Representatives, and had no idea that all of that, again, was preparing me for a career in public service. And how I got into public radio or broadcasting after volunteering at KBBG, I thought, well, this would be a great time to really expand my educational level. So I went to UNI and got a master's degree in broadcasting. So that's how I got started, but all those other factors kind of prepared me for all of that.
So customer service to public service,
now
to public radio. I mean, it's a natural fit. You're a great communicator. You served constituency base for many years. So you tie all those things together, and it's the perfect opportunity for you. This past weekend, it was the KBBG banquet. And you were celebrating a milestone. So can you touch on a little bit of the history in this milestone that was reached this week?
Absolutely. KBBG, and as I said, when I moved back from Chicago, I volunteered. I felt like, oh my God, I'm leaving this major metropolitan area, and how am I going to connect to the outside world? So an opportunity to volunteer at KBBG occurred through the broadcast training class. There I worked closely with Jimmy Porter, Lou Porter, but what was interesting about KBBG and how they got started was, it's my understanding that Mr. Porter and Harry Slife worked together at Rat Packing Company. Mr. Porter was a union leader, Harry Slife was in administration, and so quite often, those groups kind of clash. But they formed an amazing friendship, and that friendship led to Mr. Slife saying, yes, Jimmy Porter, I will help you with your dream and your vision to start a radio station. But unfortunately, as everyone knows, he and his wife Polly was then killed in a car accident. But from that point on, other community members like Ross Christensen, Ralph Emerson, so many wonderful people, Jeff Grimes, said we will jump in and pick up where Harry's life left off. And from there was a major fundraiser that occurred, a national building a capital campaign that in 1996 to build the facility at 918 Newell Street.
And I remember, because the beginnings were very humble and started actually in a small house.
In a little house
And
that
then-
still stands.
And you just celebrated a milestone
Yeah.
this week. And how many years
40
has it
years,
been?
40 years of public broadcasting, yes.
And now you're here 40 years. You've worked with Jimmy Porter. You worked with Lou Porter. You've been involved in the station for many years. But the question that I wanted to ask, now you're coming in, and it's not 40 years ago,
Right.
right? So,
it's a whole new
change is something that's inevitable for any organization.
Right.
But can you tell us what are some of the new things you're doing right now?
Oh my God. Well, the first thing we're doing is looking at where we are in terms of the organization. So there's a lot of, making sure everything is, we're in compliant, making sure that, we're looking at where we are financially,
Right.
raising money. That's what the 40th anniversary banquet was about last Saturday night, and it was a wonderful success.
Yes,
I was,
it was.
very pleased at the outcome and the turnout of that event. But in terms of our programming, I know a lot of people said to me that the sound is different. Things just sound so differently. So we're beginning to look at ways to connect to the up-and-coming generation, the
Right.
millennials, the younger people, because we want them to see that KBBG, although we've got this amazing 40-year history and we're
Right.
deeply rooted in this community, we want to make sure that we are looking into the future.
Right.
We want to address the needs of this up-and-coming generation. So, change is hard for a lot of people.
Right.
They don't feel comfortable and they resist it a lot. But my vision is to make sure that KBBG is around for another 40 years,
Right.
and longer, until the next person comes in and takes over after I'm gone.
And just like you were able to take over the baton,
Yeah.
someone else is going to come behind you. But I think it's important, you said that, because if you don't create mechanisms to get our youth engaged and allow them to
Right.
have a voice and be a part of the station, then they'll be disconnected
Right.
from it. And you go no further if you don't build a legacy like Mr. Porter did and all the people he
Exactly.
worked with. And you launched a show, I think it was about 2 or 3 Saturdays ago, a new show.
With the young people?
Yeah.
It's called The Weekend Grind is what it's called. And that show focuses on the issues that are important to that age group, 25 and younger probably. It's just a hit too.
Yeah.
And what I must talk about a very important venture we are embarking upon, and that is we are going to form a community learning center. We want KBBG to be that. And that means that we want to provide training, just as I got my start.
Right.
We want to train young people, and even you'll elder, senior, seasoned people. We want to make sure that those who want to learn broadcasting and the beautiful thing about it for the young people is that this is going to prepare them for other job opportunities.
Right.
Because you have to be able to communicate.
Absolutely.
Because communication is listening, speaking, and what else? One more thing it seems.
Hearing.
Okay, and hearing, thank you. So there's 3 phases to it.
Right.
And we want to make sure that people can, come learn the skills. You'll learn how to go on air. You'll learn how to produce your own program show, kind of like yours. And who knows, it will open doors for other jobs in the market later on.
And so when we talk about opening doors, that also comes at a price. And you just had a banquet, very
Right.
successful. But how is KBBG supported? Is it listener supported, or how important is it to?
Right. We are listener supported, which means we rely on the community for financial support. So making contributions, if you want to include us in your will, if you want to become a partner and make monthly contributions, we welcome that. We're also funded by the Corporation of Public Broadcasting with short-term CPB,
Okay.
where we get some funding, rather we are working to get funding from them, and just wherever, I'm turning over rocks trying to find money. When you turn your back digging in your wallet to see what I can get, whatever we can do, we have to raise money.
So let me ask you just one really quick question before we close. How would someone else get some information on ways to support or volunteering or just wanting to hear more about programming?
Well, I'll tell you, we are in the midst of rebranding our whole image. You can go to our current website, but I want to say December 1st, we are launching our new image, December 1st. But you can go to kbbgfm.org and just kind of get an idea if you've never been there. But I would say contact me directly at debberry@kbbg.org. debberry@kbbg.org, and we'll make sure you get information. Or just come to 918 Newell Street and come see what we're doing. We're doing great things.
Well, I'll tell you, the question was asked the other night, what would we do without KBBG? Where would parts of our community be able to have a voice? And the good thing about it is we don't have to wonder, because it's been 40 years and we want you to stay there another 40 years. So we thank you for your leadership. We thank you for your service over the course of the last 14 to 16 years in public service. It's a thankful job. Thankless job sometimes, but we appreciate you. And the huge turnout at your banquet, this year is certainly a testimony to the support and future viability of KBBG. KBBG is another entity we all can take pride in, and there is so much enlightening, entertaining, and insightful programming. And besides news, sports, education, it is a premier, and I mean that, premier listening experience for everyone in the Cedar Valley. And don't forget, the police chief and I are on the third Wednesday of each month between 10 and 11 o'clock a.m. and 7 and 8 o'clock p.m. So thank you, Deborah, for your energy, your knowledge, and skills that will take Jimmy Porter's legacy well into the future.